So we finally did it. We hit level 20 expertise. And in this video, I'll explain to you how I did it and my recommendations for you guys as you guys are continuing to level up to hit that level 20 and work on those proficient levels for each one of your gear pieces, your weapons, your brand sets, and so on. And in this video, we'll talk about my recommendations, some things that I did wrong, and hopefully it helps you guys achieve it a lot faster than I did. I'll tell you my one recommendation though is when you guys are working on this expertise level, whatever activity you're doing, do an activity that hits multiple things. So if you're farming brand sets, well, do something that helps you get shade levels. Or if you're doing something that you're farming for exotics, we'll make sure that it's also giving you other pieces that can help level this system up. So that way you're not only farming for an expertise level, but you're also farming for those builds you want to create or those items you want to get. So let's get into it. From 1 to 15, it was a pretty fast grind. I want to say wasn't too hard, and I'll tell you exactly what I did for most of these items and then what I started doing later on as I started getting more proficient and getting more items that just needed to be focused on, right? So let's talk about it now and talk about how I started and how I got to level 20. So the first thing I decided to do, honestly, was I had green gear sets. So if you notice at the very bottom, we have our gear sets, and then above it, we have our brand sets. So if you go down to the green gear sets, we have all of them here. You have Heartbreaker, Rigger, Hunter's Fury, Future Initiative, Strikers. So all of these sets, you can put 4 pieces on. And let's look at my build right now. And you'll notice we have a 4-piece Hunter's Fury, and I have a bunch of the builds on here. So a lot of these pieces, you can put 4 pieces. And the cool thing about the expertise, the way it works is the more of the same pieces you have on, the faster the expertise level goes up. So it was pretty easy for me since I have almost every single gear set, right? And if you have it, that's what I would recommend doing first. Putting those 4 pieces on, and then obviously putting 2 different pieces of something else on with it. So I put my Hunter's Fury builds on, I put my Aces and Eights, Hardwire, Negotiators, System Corruption, Foundry, Tip of the Spear. I had all of these set up. Now, some of these you might not have, like System Corruption is a Dark Zone exclusive gear set. So that is one that you might just have to really donate into to really get it proficient, right? So you have to click on it and then just donate some stuff to get that one proficient. But I'll tell you, for everything else, all the other sets, you should be 100% be able to just put the set on, go into Countdown, and what I would do is I would just go into Countdown, and then I would never select the same thing I was farming. So for the green gear sets, I wouldn't farm those. What I like to do, honestly, is I started off with the brand sets that I didn't really use that much of. So Murakami is one of them that I hardly use. So I put that as targeted loot. The same thing goes with all the other brand sets that you don't use. So you either want to put the brand sets or you want to do weapons. Now, weapons are going to be the fastest one to really bump you up. Like if your expertise 1, and say you target loot pistols, there are a ton of pistols that you guys can get. So you go to expertise, let's go to pistols. There's 24 different pistols, and most, if not all of these pistols will drop in targeted loot. Now, obviously there are some like the exotic pistol, the Regulus that comes from the raid, or the Orbit that's a DZ pistol. Well, those won't drop, but most, if not all, of the weapons will drop in Countdown. So that is a great way for you guys to do. Recommendation, if I were to start over, I would literally put the 4-piece green gear sets until I got those proficient, right? And then obviously have like 1 or 2 pieces on the other. And then I would farm, I will start with pistols. Once I got these to about almost complete, I'll switch over to SMGs, assault rifles, marksman rifles, LMGs, shotguns, and farm these. The good thing about this is this only requires you to do 20, get 20 of each item. So you just need to find 20 1886s, 20 ACRs. Once you donate these, that will be proficient, right? And that's what I would do. Now, as you guys start to get these green sets complete, right, you'll start to finish these green sets out. If you don't have it, well, then you might want to target farm, because that's a good thing about Countdown. If you don't have a green gear set and you don't want to farm, well, maybe you'll target farm it. Once you get 4 pieces, you put those on, and then you could just switch it up again. But I would not recommend target farming any of the green gear sets, because those are the ones that you can put 4 pieces. They're still pretty efficient. You can go into countdown and do pretty well. You could target weapons. As you guys finish the weapons, then I would go with the brand sets. So I would start with weapons, then do the brand sets you have. The great thing about it is when you're in countdown, those hunters drop those named items. So if we go here, let's take a look. We have a few named items. You have the burnout. So those hunters at the very beginning and at the very end will always drop named items. And you can't target farm named items in countdown. It's totally random. But if you play countdown enough, you're gonna get these items pretty proficient pretty fast. Now, what I would tell you, what I did weekly is I either was checking these vendors. So right now you can see that you have the King Breaker here. And what's cool about this is each vendor has named items. So you have the base of operation vendor, you have your clan vendor back here, then you'll have the theater will have one, and you'll also have the campus. Those always have open world items you can buy. Not only that, you have Miss Mendoza, who comes on Wednesdays and every 24 hours after that, and she always has a few named items. Now, the thing about her is she'll have the same named items that you actually have over here. So let's go over here. She'll always have these named items right here. So she'll have the lightning rod and the closer. She'll never have this third one right here. And usually this is a DZ exclusive item. Recently it has been. This week it wasn't. What's cool about this is you don't have to even spend any credits. As you're playing countdown, right? You're farming, you're getting those little countdown points. And what can you use those for? You can use those credits right here to buy these 20 of them, and you'll have them proficient. So that is another way. That's what I was doing weekly. Every week I would make sure I had all 3 of these items, and I would buy them until they were proficient. I would use my countdown points, and that's what I was spending all my points right there on. And then I would go to the open world and find the items that were here, Miss Mendoza, and obviously that's what I would do there. Now, as many of you know, there are a few items that come through quests and stuff like that, like the Hunter's Killer. This is from the New York City Hunters. So before you can buy this from Miss Mendoza, you need to do those hunters or you won't see it. But if you've already unlocked those 13 hunter masks, well then Miss Mendoza will always sell this weekly. So you can buy 20 of them, donate them, and be complete. And she does the same thing for the Shield Splinter, which is the AR that you get for completing the 12 hunter mask in DC, right? So if you go right here, you'll be able to pick this up. And then there are a couple items that you need to craft, right? So if you go right here, you have your firewall, your gunner, and your technician class. And if you hit triangle, you'll see that at level 4 of this, stage 4, you get the Savage Wolverine, you get the ammo dump, which you don't have to worry about because it's not part of the expertise. It goes under Badger Tough. But the Savage Wolverine, you go over here to the gunner class, you have the LMG, you have the chest piece, and then for the technician class, you have the send-off and the motherly love gloves. So all 5 of those are actually ones that you do need to get proficient. Now, once you unlock them in that stage, then you come over here and you guys can just you can just craft 20 of them and get those knocked out. And you could do that for those. You could do that for right here. You can go right here, keep going down. The send off, you can get 20 of these and donate them. Now, there is a few items that were from pre-order bonuses and stuff like that. Like you have the Stinger, which is part of the Refer a Friend bonus. There's a couple other pieces that you're not going to be able to get, right? You're just not going to be able to get. So those items are the items that, well, that's when if you go to your expertise, you go click right here. Let's go to item that I don't have proficient. So we go to Ravenous, right? So this is the Ravenous. Well, that's where if you click on here, you can donate printer filaments. You can donate any of these base materials as you guys start to getting extras, right? Where when you start getting a lot of these materials, you can start donating. Most people do tend to donate the printer filaments, but that's where you guys, if you guys can't get it from an open world drop, if you guys just missed it, well, that is something you guys need to think about. You know what? I might not be able to get the Ravenous because it is a raid exclusive. So this is something that I would probably use my materials on. Now I have one, so I could use it. Now you might notice your skills, right? So as you guys are doing all of this, during this whole time, this is a perfect time for you guys to level up those skills at the same time. So let's look at this build. So this build is right here. Well, if you notice, I have the Banshee Pulse and I have the Defender Drone. Now, what I would do is, say once I was done with the Defender Drone, well, I would put the Fixer Drone on and I would start leveling that up. And then I would maybe put the Crusader Shield on. I was constantly always swapping out my skills. As you guys are leveling up, yes, those are going to take the longest. But as you guys start to get to 10, 11, you'll start knocking a few of those out. I recommend playing with the skills that you enjoy the most, right? Because you're most likely going to get those proficient anyway. And then later on when you need to, that's where you could start donating those extra materials. Now, in Countdown, you're going to notice one thing, right? So if we go over to our materials, you'll notice one thing. If you come down here to where it shows your receiver components and your protective fabric, you're going to max out of this quick. Even though we have 9,900, I want to say in 3 runs, say if you're farming gear, right? If you're farming weapons, you're probably going to be done with receiver components quick. So what I would do is, as soon as I got to about 9,000, I would just come over here. I would pick the item that I could donate materials in. So we have to go back down to the Ravenous. And then I would just click it and then click it once and then donate it. And then I would get it down to about 4,000 and I would start over. But if you don't, you'll end up having 9,900 of these maxed out and it's gonna go to waste unless you're just trying to level up your gear pieces. But that's what I was doing. I was leveling those up and then I was donating printer filaments to items that I knew I wouldn't really be using. So I started really with the skills, right? I picked the skills that I had and that's how I got that right there. Now, once you have all that, right, you're gonna be down near the nitty gritty. You're probably gonna have a lot of items that are DZ exclusive items. So I'm talking about items that only drop in the Dark Zone. So if they only drop in the Dark Zone, you can get them 1 or 2 different ways. And one is gonna be through a name cache. So you guys can literally just head over here. You can head over to the Countdown vendor and you can, if you've already got all the items for the week, you could start spending those items on these named item caches, or if you do any of the global events, you can do that. There's actually a global event going on while I'm making this video. So you can go here, it's 8 stars, and you can do that name item cache. So all the Dark Zone items drop there. But say, for instance, none of those items have dropped for you, and you guys are looking to get your items done. What about the other named items, right? The items that aren't dropping in the open world, like right here we have the Manic, right? Well, you guys, what I would do is I was checking weekly for the Dark Zone West, Dark Zone South, Dark Zone East, and I would go to the vendors. So we're actually gonna head down here and I just want to show you real quick. So I would go to all the Dark Zone vendors. We're at Dark Zone South, and if you look here, they actually have one named item at each. This one's actually DZ exclusive to the apartment, and it's always gonna cost 152 DZ resources. So what I was doing is I would buy this and then I would just equip it as my secondary. So you remember, not only are you wearing your gear pieces, not only are you changing out your skills, well, you should be changing out your pistols. The same thing, I would put whatever pistol I need to do, and you should be changing out, you should have one primary that you're using and then swap out the secondary for whatever. So as you guys are getting proficient in weapons, the good thing to do, I would do, is, since exotics aren't ones that you want to buy and keep donating, I was putting all my exotics as my secondary, unless I was using it as my primary, and then I would just pick another weapon that I would use. Like right here we have the Vector, then right here we have the blue screen, which you can see is proficient rank 0. And that's how I was leveling up, and I constantly was swapping out these weapons along with the gear pieces. And that right there is going to get you faster to level 20 than anything. Now, once you've done all that, right, you're swapping out weapons, you're swapping out gear pieces, you're swapping out your skills, and you're slowly leveling these up, you're gonna start to notice you're pushing through. You're probably gonna hit 10 I wanna say 10 comes pretty fast if you do that method. Then you start to slow down a little. Once you get to 12, 13, things start to slow down. So what's your next best bet, right? Like you're playing a lot of Countdown, you're donating a lot of materials. What can you do next? Now, what I did is I just kept playing Countdown. So I was literally done with all of my brand sets and all of my green gear sets once I was done there. Then, now you might have heard that I said I was shopping for those named items, right? Well, you can do the same thing with the regular weapons. So if there's a weapon that you notice is taking you a little bit longer than normal to find 20 of those, well, I was going through here, and if I could buy it, I was using my extra credits. I was using the extra money I had. I would buy, if I needed 3 more, I would buy those 3 and donate them. And I started doing that. And then that started getting me over the hump. Now, once I got to, I want to say 18, things got really slow. 17, 18, things got really slow. Honestly, what I was doing is I was just donating materials to level these up slowly. But little by little, it was going. I was playing a lot of Countdown because I was actually farming for exotic components. I ended up making 1 extra character at the very end, and I was using those materials to buy printer filaments. And then what you could do is you could use those printer filaments to donate, right? And I made my final character, which was a hardcore character. I died a couple months back, so I had 1 extra slot. I created that. I actually streamed it live. If you guys want to see that. And then I finally finished it early this morning. I bought the remaining printer filaments. I donated it. And that's the final, I want to say the final 30 levels that I needed. I got through donating printer filaments. Now, I'll tell you, there are people who they've just deleted characters, made characters, deleted characters, made characters, and they were done pretty quick. Now, for me, I just wanted something that I could level up my gear items to, because when you do it that way, yes, you get to level 20 a lot quicker, but the problem is then you still have to farm all those materials. If you look, I have a ton of materials. And I have a lot of pieces that are like 15, 12, 13 and then I have a couple weapons that are at 19. So that's what I tell you. Yeah, you could do it that way, but then you're gonna end up farming anyway. So why not use that time more efficiently? You slowly level up your gear pieces and you slowly level up your expertise all at the same time. And that is how I did it and what I recommend. So hopefully this video, I know it was a little longer than usual, but that's what I would do, guys. I'm telling you, put those green gear sets on, farm weapons, and that's gonna get you up to level 10. That'll probably push you up there. And then start farming those brand sets. If you don't have 3-piece brand sets to wear, start farming those. And then swap out your weapons and swap out your skill pieces as you're doing all of this. And that's gonna naturally push you up there. Now, once you get to the very end, well, it might be beneficial for you guys to make an extra character. Use those to buy printer filaments and then donating it. And that will get you over the hump. So that's how I did it. Hopefully it helped you guys out. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, nothing but skills out. Take it easy, everybody.